with the new TIFTIA language, does it really affect anything if I'm shipping items to Canada? So is there anything within TIFTIA that kind of calls out NAFTA that says, the drawback process is going to be a little different?
Well, NAFTA, I'm glad someone brought up NAFTA because it's not necessarily on TIFTIA, but NAFTA itself, there are limitations on drawback. NAFTA, the old NAFTA, which ironically is the NAFTA that's still in place now, even though it's been renegotiated, eliminated the ability to file unused substitution drawback on exports to Canada or Mexico. It also limited manufacturing drawback to the extent that you would get if you claimed manufacturing drawback on an export to Canada or Mexico, rather than automatically get 99% of the duties you paid, you would get the lesser of that 99% value versus the value of that good when it was imported out of Mexico and Canada into the U.S. in the first place. So there was a limitation on it. I believe those provisions were largely left the same in the NAFTA renegotiation, but that's very much in flux. It hasn't been passed by Congress yet. So it remains to be seen how the new NAFTA would change those rules. But in the old NAFTA, there were restrictions, even irrespective of CETA.
Right. So, kind of like you said, with USMCA or the new NAFTA, NAFTA 2.0, whatever you want to call it, we have a scenario that we're not quite sure yet. So we do have a lot of questions that kind of came in. How does the new NAFTA, how does USMCA impact drawback? And that is a little bit different because we don't quite know yet, right? There's a lot of language. And for those of you who maybe don't follow it too closely and maybe just follow it at the national news level, you might see things like, oh, then the new NAFTA has been signed. Well, what does that really mean? And what we tell folks is there's still a lot that has to get ironed out. So basically you can kind of think of the signing down in I think it was Argentina earlier this year, or I guess I should say late last year now, is more about an agreement in principle, right? It's not the weeds. It's not the ins and outs necessarily that I know our customer base is really looking for because it's not there yet.
Right. And just, to that point, you've got this new, well, let's take the old NAFTA, which, like I said, is the NAFTA that's in place now. So there was the NAFTA agreement, which then had to be signed into law. Congress had to approve it. Congress has to approve this new NAFTA as well. That gets added to the tariff. And then there is an entire section of the regulations that had to be added, filling in all the blanks and all the uncertainties in that agreement. And that needs to happen for this new NAFTA. And the new NAFTA hasn't even been approved yet, so it's not even in the tariff. So that should just give you an idea of why there's so much uncertainty. You may be able to get the broad strokes of the new NAFTA, but filling in the nitty-gritty on how it works, what's allowed, what's not allowed, that's a long way off.
Right. No, I agree. And my gut tells me that if we know a lot of those details by the end of this calendar year, I'll be pretty happy.
Yeah, I think we'd be pretty lucky.
Yeah. No, I would agree with that 100%. So we kind of have just some